Look, live repeat people. Oh, not repeat, replay. Lord have mercy. Hey, everybody. How you guys doing? It's been a week. It has been a week.
It has, oh my goodness. It has been a crazy week.
Oh, but we got some good stuff going on today. Go ahead, Laura.
All right. So I just want to welcome everybody back to Meaty Mondays. Today, we are very excited to go over some of this information with you guys. Basically, we want to mention, the prevalence of misinformation when it comes to your healthy lifestyle way of eating. There are many, many misconceptions about the carnivore way of eating. And I always say to people, if you think back to our ancestors, were they chasing around broccoli or were they following herd animals? And I think we all know, if you've looked at any kind of paleontology, you know what the answer is. So for myself, I just say, put some questions in. If there's anything you want to know about, if you have comments, please put those in there. We will definitely get to you guys. And I just wanted to let you know I am your co-host at Healthy Carnivore.
Thank you, Laura. Hey, everybody. We are so excited to be back. And as Laura was saying, we are going to be talking about some of these carnivore myths and misconceptions. And so I definitely have some thoughts about this. I just came out of a class where I had to take everything that I learned in that class with a grain of salt because of the fact that they were really still talking about the saying that meat is bad for us. And so they had some great content, but I had to just evaluate whether I could really trust what they were saying or not. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about, is that we need to make sure that we are doing our own research. Dr. Kilt says, don't trust any of it. If you can't trust a little of it, you can't trust any of it. So, we have lots of things that we want to dispel. I am Robin Heron, your carnivorous grandma. Hey, Rebecca.
Hello. It's so good to be back. So yes, I definitely, I am always coming at this from the family perspective. And I was just thinking about the other day when I was at the lunchroom at the school where my kids have like their sports banquets and things like that. And they always have these giant posters on the wall about what is a nutritious, healthy lunch, and like the new version of the food pyramid, which is now called the plate. And it's like 3/4 of the plate is things we don't eat. So it's fun going through it with my kids and being like, guess what? Half that plate is carbohydrates. And that's, a big part of the problem here. And school lunches are a crazy, that's just a whole crazy system in and of itself where, ketchup can be considered a fruit serving and chocolate milk counts as a dairy. And, that's, it's just it's the weirdest thing when you look at it and you're like, does it matter how much junk and sugar is on it? As long as it resembled the food somewhere in this process, we'll count it. And it's just bizarre. And obviously, I think a huge problem with the health of kids. So on that note, I am Rebecca with Carnivore Family, and I am excited to be back.
Yay! I know, you guys, we really, really missed her. And when I tell you, just think, she has 8 children plus a husband, and it all depends what room you're in, if you're going to count the husband over here or over here sometimes. Listen, I'm real excited about today's show. About 12 hours ago, I interviewed with Dr. Chafee, and I am waiting for a reply because there was a link that we did inside of the live stream that I didn't pull from the live stream, and I don't know how to go back and get it. But that's going to be one of the things that I talk about a little bit later. These misconceptions, I too, like Robin, we were actually in the same class. I'm going to let Robin do some of what we got from class that you really can't stand on. I try and tell people often that go against everything that you were taught, and then you'll probably hit it. Fruits are good for you. Go against it. Vegetables, go against it. Carb, go against it. Meat, stay away from. Eat it. There you go. It's like, unfortunately, it really is just that simple. Oh, and if you guys come on, don't be sneaking and peeking. Get to speaking. Go and put in here and tell us who you are, where you are from. We are so happy that you are here. Hey, Bridgetta, how are you? So I am G Brown, the Lifestyle Changer. I am your last co-host on the panel today. We all know that Rhonda has gone back to work during this hour, so we will have news that you can use. And none of us has seen it. We always wait to watch it with you. The first segment that we want to talk about is some common carnivore myths. And the ladies will talk about that. But I'm going to hit it first, which will take me back to Dr. Chafee's interview this morning that Frederick and I had. And I love the fact, the first question my husband asked, because I want to help people tremendously with your first 30 days. And that's where I had his mindset when he was interviewing, because I said that before we went live. I said, listen, you have time after you've been a carnivore. If you decide that this is what you're going to change your life for, then that's when you really start doing your research for different things from the community, where you'll watch a show like this, you'll hear what the panel has to say. If you notice some things going on in your body, so many people, hey Marvin, so many people are doing this to where they have probably had your issue as well. All right, because most of us was broken when we came over, and now we kind of getting our bodies back together where we held up together right. The first thing when I tell someone about this lifestyle is they turn around to tell me, what about your cholesterol? All right. So because of the misconception that we have in regards to the cholesterol, and Dr. Chafee hit on that in the very beginning, he even gave me the link to the study in 2016 where this was proven wrong, of where the person actually had lied about it. And I know it's hard to believe that the pharmaceutical company or big pharma or whatever you want to call it, those people over there created a statin. Well, now we need somebody to give it to. So a lot of times they could be looking like Ozempic. That's out for something. And now everybody is using it to lose weight. Well, let's think about that. What's going to happen when you stop using it? What's going to happen? The fact that you're using it and not even a diabetic, what is that doing to your body? All because you don't want to correct your pie hole. And so with that being said, there are so many different things out here that's just not meant for you. He said today, a koala doesn't go and eat grass. It eats the eucalyptus plant, whatever it is. Yeah.
Eucalyptus.
That's eucalyptus. All right. So that's what he doesn't turn around and say, you know what? I'm so sick and tired of having that every day. All right. Oh, look at them. Look what they eating. Let me go try some of that. Oh, that really look good on their plate. Only we do that. How many of y'all been in a restaurant and seen the plate go by and ask your waiter, what was that they just ordered? I know I've done that. I've done that doggone it if a pretty drink goes by. And I'm like, oh, look how pretty that drink is. What was that they ordered? Give me one of them. Mike don't even like it. But right here with the eyes, you caught it in. And so there are so many things out here, guys. I don't know why they did this to us. I don't know why all of a sudden it seems like I'm a conspiracy theorist now, to where it's like, listen, no, I know. It's like you get to talk, and I'm like, now I sound like the one who flew over the cuckoo's nest. Because it's like, oh, no, don't eat that. They're out to get you.
Put your
They
tinfoil
need you.
hat on.
Yeah.
Just go ahead and take a picture with the tinfoil hat on and say, oh my God, they're trying to get into my brain waves. Okay, that's enough of my rant. Rebecca, what about you?
So myth busting. I think one of the things that we get asked the most is about how this is so much more expensive than eating any other way. Like, how can you afford to eat meat all the time? And, I have 8 kids. So people are just like, what do you guys do for a living that I mean, like, we have to feed 8 kids either way. It's not, our grocery bill's not cheap. But it's I tell you, like, this is one of the most common questions I get. And when I go back and look over our food budget over the time that we've been doing this, which is almost 2 years at this point, we actually spend about the same or less than we did before. And which I think is really fascinating, because even though meat itself is more expensive than a lot of the other stuff we ate before, it is so much more satisfying, and we don't have all the filler foods that weren't. Like, we don't have any snacks or chips. We don't have cereal, which, I mean, my kids could eat $100 a week in cereal, before, and be hungry 45 minutes after they ate 2 giant bowls of Rice Krispies. Okay, because there's nothing satisfying in that. And then so we have snacks, and you're stopping fast food, of course. Eating out was just crazy expensive, and when you're busy and on the go, it's just you're always justifying these things. And then we have Friday night, we do pizza, and we would get a bunch of snacks, and that was easily a couple $100 right there. And that was just trying to be frugal about everything. So you cut out all of that filler food and the junk food, and you just focus on where we're literally just eating a half dozen items, and we're able to buy it in bigger quantities. And it's like, and if you're a small family or just for yourself, you can buy the 10-pound pack of ground beef and put it up in chunks and freeze it, or do other ways of storing it. So you can get the benefit of buying in bulk. So we buy in bulk, we buy large quantities, and it really ends up being, and very little is wasted. And so it's, to me, that I think that's one of the kind of more fascinating things. I will say, in the very beginning, the first few months, it was more expensive because we were figuring stuff out. And we were eating lots of like processed meats and letting the kids have sausage and lots of, pepperonis and deli meats, and all of that's more expensive. But once we got a rhythm and we figured out what everybody ate and what was our normal routine, the budget started going down to better than it was before. It's about the same or better depending on the month. So that's one of my favorite parts.
Yeah, Rebecca, just real quick, because one of your subscribers, Mama Cracker here, she wants to know why your stream is not showing up for her. I don't know if you were able to plug your stuff in ahead of time, because she's looking for you.
Oh, I appreciate that. No, I came home. The ladies know I rushed in from work, and I was throwing everything together to get on here. So I didn't have time to set it up and start it. So I'm very sorry. I really appreciate her. I will be.
Yeah, I want you to know that. So
working.
look, we told her.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes.
So what I'll say is, once we get done with the live stream, just take the link and put it in your community tab. Yeah. So you can take this so that people will be able to watch it on your channel. So one of the common myths that I want to address is that, oh my gosh, there were so many of them as I was thinking about it, but red meat causes constipation. Red meat causes so many different things, but the one thing that I do hear is I could never eat that much red meat, because red meat sits in your bowels, and it rots and causes you to be constipated and unable to have a bowel movement. And this is just
stop right there. How many people that's watching have ever heard that? Just put an emoji in if you were taught
Mhm.
that, because Lord
Mhm.
no. And then if days went by, I was in a panic because I just knew that I had sewage locked away inside of me. And yeah, yeah. Go ahead. Go. I know. Look, look. Yes, hard to
Yeah.
Mhm.
digest. Yeah, I know. Go ahead. Go ahead. Robin, you hit it
Yeah.
on the head. Go.
Yeah. So people really, I mean, so we really think that the meat is causing us to not be able to have a bowel movement, but truly it is fiber that causes this problem. It blocks up your bowels. And what Dr. Kiltz told me is that fiber is like a Brillo pad in your bowels. So not only is fiber just not is unnecessary for human consumption, it really is it's not very good for your health. It causes like leaky gut and other kinds of issues like that. But red meat is bioavailable to our bodies. So our body is able to consume most of what it is that we're ingesting. So you might have smaller, less frequent bowel movements if you are on a carnivore way of eating. Some people like me are regular for the first time in our lives. I
Me
had
too.
constantly. I was struggling with constipation. I had IBS with constipation before I started the carnivore diet. And when I went to having a normal, regular bowel movement, I was amazed. I had never experienced that I can remember. So meat does not stay in your colon. It gets absorbed, used by your body. It gets broken down into those micronutrients that your body needs. It has every essential element that you need for your health, for your body. So your body will break that thing down. And yes, your stools may be smaller. They may be less frequent for some of us, but red meat does not cause constipation, and Laura can vouch for me.
Mhm.
It's true.
I was gonna say, on that note, there was a video a while back that Dr. Barry did where he said he had talked to a physician, and I can't remember which specialty it is, where they are putting in ostomy bags for people who have
Oh yeah.
bowel issues and everything. So
Mhm,
ostomy bags is basically catches all of the waste when
Mhm.
there's problems with the colon or the intestines. And he asked him what he finds in ostomy bags, and the answer was it was never meat. Basically, it was lots and lots of vegetables and
Yep.
fibrous materials and things like that. The meat does not make it very far through the digestive system. By the time it gets passed through the stomach, it is like pretty much completely broken down unless there's
mhm.
severe other issues. But so I thought that was a really interesting. We'll see. And we all know the joke about corn, like corn coming in and out. It doesn't. It's
Yeah.
Yep.
like
Yeah. Yeah, I watched a video with Kent, Carnivore, I believe's his name, and he had his colon removed and has a colostomy bag. And he said, numerous times he would eat broccoli or salad, and that's exactly what showed up in the bag. But the first time that
Right.
he sat down and ate a steak, that is not what ended up in the bag. What ended
mhm,
up in there is what should have been there. It was stool, completely broke down. All of the nutrition stuff had been pulled out of it. It was just what needed to go on. And he's had that ever since. That's just how it is. So we definitely know with the bacteria that's in the stomach that it does its job. So
Mhm.
Well, let
um,
me let
were
me
you
just
finished?
say
Oh,
he'll be on our show. I'm interviewing him next week.
I saw
yay!
that. So exciting.
Yeah,
Good,
yeah. So we're
good.
gonna find
I
out what's
really
in
like
that
him.
bag for real.
Did you see his little short video on the vegans?
No, I haven't seen that.
I
I have
haven't
to go
seen
and
it
look.
yet.
You should definitely go see it. It is wonderful. And I don't know if it was just a short video or if it was an actual short, because it was probably 3 minutes long, but it
Yeah.
will crack you up. It was, yeah, I watched it like 3 times. I was like, gotta go back and watch that again, gotta watch that again, because it was wonderful. So um another misconception which Robin, you kind of hit on it a little bit, is I've had people say, well, how are you supposed to get all your vitamins and your nutrients if you're not eating fruits and vegetables? And I said, well, if you look up meat, and anybody can do this. I'm not going to give a link because you literally can go out and see what is in meat. You can see what the vitamins, what nutrients, minerals, those things that are in there, you can see those. And when you can do a side by side comparison with a vegetable or a fruit, it already speaks for itself. It's just that we've been told differently.
Right.
But like even today, I had a patient who has every metabolic disease. You just eat meat and fat and salt and water. And I said, yeah. And they're like, well, you look pretty healthy. And I was like, thanks. As they sit there with their box of medication next to them, and I'm going over it with them. And I'm like, you could change this just with eating meat, even if you just went ketovore. Not going to happen. They had a big old 6-pack of pop up on the counter. And I was like, this is one we'll just have to
Mm.
readdress later on, and we'll see. Sometimes people have to be at that painful spot. So the other thing I'll say about meat, doing a meat heavy diet, whether that's ketovore, carnivore, or lion, a lot of people that are carnivores, and it's mostly on Facebook carnivore channels because they're a little bit crunchier, that they're
Mhm.
like, well, you shouldn't be having to take iodine, and well, you shouldn't have to be. Well, I'm still going to do it because I have been doing that the whole time. The supplements that I've been taking, I've done this entire time. When I had my blood work and all the vitamins and everything looked at, they were perfect. I wasn't too high and I wasn't low. So I just think that you have to kind of figure out what works for you. Let's
I
see.
do want to say, I just want to say, Laura, I was listening to Dr. Elizabeth Wright in the Steak and Butter Gang last week,
Yeah.
and she said that everybody needs to be supplementing with iodine
Yes.
because of our ground outside, where they're growing the food
Mhm.
is all
Sure.
stripped of all of its nutrients and
Totally
everything.
depleted. Mhm.
So totally
Yep.
depleted, exactly. And every body should be supplementing with at least 2 drops of iodine.
A day.
So
Yep.
a day. Yeah.
Very
Well,
smart.
go and send me
Very,
the
very
link.
smart.
I'll send you the link. Yeah. And I do
Oh,
have
it's
that
funny.
link in my description. So I have a link to
Okay.
that
Yeah.
Google's iodine that I'm using in my description because yes,
I'll go grab it.
and I started taking it before even realizing that the reason why I was taking it, you know what I mean? But everybody is deficient in iodine these days. Go ahead, Laura.
Absolutely. That is
Pardon
true.
me.
And it's really very inexpensive. Like, as a prepper, I have like 5 of those bottles because you just never know. But those 2 drops, I mean, even if it's 2 of you in the household using it, it's going to last forever. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep. So, something that I wanted to go over too, on a lot of people are, like you guys have said, well, show me the proof of this, show me the proof of that. And what I tell people is, I'm like, I can't always show you super big studies because there's no money to be made on eating this way,
Mhm.
because it doesn't make money for big pharmaceutical companies, your medical complex. I feel like calling it medical military complex almost, because I feel like it's about there. Um, but the thing I always say is, just go out to the store. And if you can look around and tell me, do these people that have the standard American diet items in their cart, and it's not being judgy and hateful, but it's just paying attention to your surroundings, do they look healthier? When you look back
Mhm.
at your grade school pictures, I was the fat kid in my class, and I wasn't even what you would call fat. I mean, I was heavier than the rest of them, but I was one out of 200, and I think we had 289 kids that graduated. So 99% of them were normal, what you would call regular size. But the problem is, now when you look at kids, what's the normal? If you've got a child that's
Crazy.
not overweight, they're the abnormal, kid now.
Mhm.
And so I always say, if you're willing to step outside your comfort zone and try this for 90 days, and write down, keep track. Do you feel better? Does this look better? Do these, getting the lab work, stuff like that. That's really all the proof you should ever have to have is how do you feel once you get past that? Because there is some, some digestion stuff and things like that because we've ruined our gut biome. We've just trashed it and we've got to rebuild that stuff up. So, and that does take some time. I've had some people who have like a gallbladder removed or who get acid reflux really easy. And I'm like, you may have to supplement for a couple months with ox bile. That way you have the salts and you have the enzymes, which kind of help break stuff down until you're completely fat adapted. So that's what I think is I just tell people, um, and yes, I put tallow on, but I don't feel like any of us look our age. I'm going to be 53. I don't think any of it. G looks like you're not 33 anymore. Anyway, like 28. And
Look, wait a minute. I was in Walmart today. A little youngster come up on me. I had to come back and tell Frederick about us. Boy, you better watch out. I looked at him. I said, baby, how old are you? He said, I'm 23. I thought you would be 60. And you just should have saw the look on his face. I say, but I'm too tickled because I can still pull him in. But you need a little more living to do, sir. You got a lot more living to do before, because you most definitely can't knock Mr. Brown out the box. I'm on lockdown, but honey, I'm still pulling them in.
That's right. That's right. So the other thing too is that I tell people with this way of eating that I've noticed is all of the people that have changed their lifestyle to the carnivore, ketovore, and lion, any of those versions of that, their medication box goes from this to maybe one or two. And sometimes it's none. They're done, completely done. So when you can reverse several diseases just by changing what you put in your mouth, I personally don't have to have a study that tells me that. I mean, I think they will be coming. I think Dr. Baker is working on some of that stuff. That lean mass hyper responder is a good study for people to go out and look. And it's actually pretty easy to kind of follow that to see. And anybody that worked through COVID in the healthcare system, we know for a fact the people who did the poorest were vitamin D deficient, which have to have cholesterol to use, and their LDL was extremely low. Every one of them. So that there's something because that is part of working with the immune system. So I go based off how does it feel for me? Because what works for me may not exactly work, may not be the same thing that each of us do, but majority of it is meat, salt, water. So that's kind of what I feel like is the gist of my story anyway. So what about you, Robin?
So I really want to talk a little bit about, I took this class, G and I took it, and another carnivore YouTuber, Christy, she took it as well. And one of the things that was common throughout that course was the conversation about red meat and risks, risk of heart attack, risk of stroke, risk of diabetes. And so today I just went out and tried to just search because what we know is that this is not true. But as Laura was just saying, there's no money in funding the studies to find out for sure that this is not true. And that a lot of the studies that are out here are, they're just not good, high quality studies. They're not randomized clinical trial studies. They're like, they send in a paper to somebody and ask them what they ate over the past 5 years. And they fill the paper out. Who remembers what they ate over the past 5 years?
Yeah.
But just if you eat red meat, it increases your risk for heart attack, stroke, diabetes, cancer, even. And so I did go out and I just Googled it because one of the concerns that I have is that I was talking with my in-laws over the weekend, and I realized that my father-in-law just had I think it was a triple bypass and they put him on a Mediterranean diet once he came off of that. But we were talking about beef tallow, and he was saying he can't eat that. He can't eat beef tallow because it clogs your arteries, and it will, bring him back in line for another heart attack, for a heart attack. And I was just like, that's not true though. But that's not the truth though. So I did find one study on the Annals of Internal Medicine, and it was saying that it's just suggesting basically that eating red meat might not be as bad as it's cracked up to be. That was the only thing I could find. So the problem is, if you go out here and Google and say, is red meat bad for your health? Most everything that you're going to see in your Google search is going to say red meat causes heart attack, red meat causes stroke, red meat causes diabetes, red meat causes cancer. All of these things are just not true. They're just not true. So I want to just recommend a couple of people to listen to, a few people to listen to: Dr. Ken Berry, Dr. Anthony Chafee, Dr. Kiltz, Dr. Obadia, Dr.
Hampton.
Sean Baker. All these doctors, even Dr. Lisa Wiedemann. And if you're looking for somebody in the medical community to talk to you about these things, these guys are all talking about it on YouTube. They're all doing many, many interviews with people. They're meeting with us for an hour for free. When is the last time you met with your doctor for an hour?
Yeah.
First of all, you're not going to meet with your doctor for an hour. And then and they didn't charge you. They're meeting with us just like Dr. Chafee met with G and Frederick today for an hour for free.
Actually,
to just
and not only answered
over
our question, answer questions of people who were in the comments. They're giving this away.
They're giving it away. They're giving it away because it's so important that we find out the truth, that we have been fed a bill of goods. We've been fed a bill of goods. You need to take everything that you know and turn it on its head, and because we've been just taught everything backwards and upside down.
Yeah.
So
also just
and it's like,
yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, when you take someone to like Dr. Chafee, I mean, like, he's a neurosurgeon, I believe. I mean, like, he's not in this for some grift. Like, he clearly is, he's professionally, this is probably only could do harm to him professionally because, of a reputational means. Like, this is not some grift or some boon because he couldn't make it, in the real world or whatever. It's like, this is very clearly, he is many of these doctors very, very well. I mean, Dr. Kiltz, highly respected in his specialty, and he runs a fertility clinic. And I mean, this is, they're doing this because they believe in the benefit.
Right. And there's one I missed. I almost missed one. Dr. Tony Hampton.
Laura said that for you. Laura said that for you.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So before we move forward, I think this is a really good question. And Bridgetta, I believe, is from you, Robin. And so this was a really good question. How do you get started without knowing about iodine and all of the supplements? Well, everybody can kind of touch on this because I see people are starting to try and answer her. The thing is that I know for me, as you are clearing your body of all the junk, and I'm not talking about like within the first few days. I'm talking when these fat cells start popping open, getting rid of, urinating out, pooping out, where energy. If you start feeling some kind of way, this is where we start asking each other questions. Hey, I'm noticing, because everybody will tell you, for me, restless leg was my thing. And it was like, and people started telling me, and it ended up being some compression socks I was able to put on that helped tremendously. And then Laura suggested magnesium. Other people are saying the exact same thing. Now, uh Bridgetta, you're getting it just like me. Robin just turned around and talked about the 2 drops. So then I just said, send me the link. Well, most of us down in the description of the videos, you'll have different links in there for things that we are utilizing anyway. Like we did a show last time. I even slapped myself with all the cholesterol. I just want to keep calling that castor oil cholesterol. We did that. We shared the collagen. We shared tablets. We shared a lot of the different things. Robin shared her fatty latte in the morning of what all she put in there. And I said I was going to try it. But every time I thought about putting that salt in there in that little bitty cup, it locked my jaws up. It the thought of it did, and I never followed through with it. I really didn't. But this is how you start feeling. You get 3 months in, 6 months in, and if you have some ailment, that's where we start critiquing
Yeah.
uh, our own, not each other, but our own. What else am I adding? And so, one of the things that I love is that everybody on the panel that is here tonight. Rhonda isn't here to speak for herself, but starting February 1st, we are all doing the Lions diet. We're taking it up a notch. We're cutting out, it's going to be ruminant meats, water, and salt.
Mhm.
And but I'm adding one thing to mine though, and that will be my homemade ghee because of my fat intake. I'm really trying. But if you say don't do the, I was making it into ghee though. I was pulling that part off.
Yeah, I think even with the lion diet, you can do that because you can do the tallow, you can do any of the extra fats. I
Correct.
think the main
Oh, and
Mhm.
thing
I
is
just saved a
is
whole bunch
the
of fat.
Mhm.
yeah, so I think the main thing too is like getting rid of the dairy part of that butter and having ghee. But I think
Mhm.
even just butter is fine doing the lion diet. I don't think that's going to hurt anything. The other thing I was going to say, Robin, to let you get back to what you were saying, is when you use a specific search engine, it's amazing what you can and cannot find. And I did that
That's
today,
true. Mhm.
researching
Mhm.
those GL2 or yeah, GL2 or GL1 receptors, that Ozempic and that stuff. I was looking some of that stuff up. Somebody asked me some questions. I was like, that'd be a good live. When I went to Google, oh, it was like, praise, hallelujah, it's saving the world. When I went out to DuckDuckGo, which is a private search engine that doesn't track you, it gave me everything. It gave me the good, the bad, the ugly. It gave me everything. And I was like, okay. I was like, well, who the hell's running Google? I'll just leave that there and you all can figure that out.
Yeah, I think my concern is how difficult it is to get this message out here. And this is why
Mhm.
each of us have a YouTube channel talking about it, right? It's because this message is just it's being drowned out by
Mhm.
vegans and vegetarians and big pharma and big food. It's the message is being drowned out. So it's important that each
Mhm.
one of us tell the story. My father-in-law does not need to be using no olive oil, especially not from Aldi or someplace like that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
that lard and beef tallow are the best cooking fats you can use. Bacon grease, those are the best cooking fats that you can use, and not canola oil, vegetable oil, all those olive oils, even avocado oil, all of them. The best ones that you can use are the saturated fats that come from the meat. So,
Mhm.
okay, who's next? Rebecca.
Rebecca's
I think
been
it's me.
quiet, so it has to be her turn.
That's right. That's right.
Mhm.
So, one of the things to think about is you're trying to parse through all of this information, and Robin touched on this. It's understanding where we get our studies from, where we get this information when they come out and say eat blueberries because they have antioxidants, and that meat has will give you heart attacks. Start. It's. I know it's really hard if you don't have a lot of background in science or how these things are done, to start to dig in and realize, like Robin said, is a lot of the food guides that they come out with, or the food studies, are polls basically, where they have asked people, what did you eat over the course of this time? And they're doing it from memory, or they are supposed to be tracking what they're eating over a course of amount of time. And you don't know how honest people are in those kinds of things. And all it does is show correlation. And so there's this difference of what we call correlation versus causation. And so
Causation.
correlation just shows that these two things happened at the same time, but that doesn't mean that one causes the other. And so
Mhm.
something like the meat consumption, when they see heart disease correlates with high meat consumption, they don't distinguish
Gotcha.
between someone that eats only steak and somebody that has a Big Mac from McDonald's every day for the last 15 years, where they're consuming a lot of meat, but they're also consuming a sugary drink and fries and the bun and whatever 785 ingredients are in the sauce. And so those are correlated, but you can't say one causes the other in that. And they're cherry picking how to look at it, because most of the time they are looking for something, and they're looking for some story, and they're often looking to prove a point that has to do with it benefits whoever's funding these studies too. And so once you start looking back over through that, you're seeing that most of this information comes from a very disingenuous place and a very biased place. And so having to start learning how to question that information and where it comes from will help a lot if you're wanting to be able to answer well these kinds of things. And someone that hasn't been mentioned that I like to watch is Professor Bart Kay. So he's a doctor, but not a medical doctor. He is a research-based doctorate, and I believe it's in cardiovascular physiology. So he science of the body and how it works. He's really, really good. He goes into great details about these kinds of things. And one of the examples he gives is that if you go to beaches, sunburns will correlate well to people who ate ice cream. And because of that, which therefore eating ice cream causes sunburns. That's what correlation is. Just because they happen together, though, doesn't mean that ice cream is actually causing sunburns. They just happen to be because people do both at the beach. And so that kind of gives you an idea of how to start thinking about these things differently if it's not in your wheelhouse already. So so on that note, the myth that I wanted to point out that hasn't been brought up is about what about vitamin C? So vitamin C is an interesting one because it's not there's very small amounts in meat. And if you look at the numbers, there's not enough vitamin C in meat to get your daily recommended consumption of it. And so the question is, how do we not get scurvy if we're not consuming particularly fruits with vitamin C in it? And this is something I learned from Professor Bart Kay, is that vitamin C, so I'll put it this way, competes with glucose for absorption in the cells. So the way the body absorbs nutrients and anything, it's like puzzle pieces. So the cells have this puzzle opening, and only certain things can fit into it. And vitamin C and glucose have to compete with this spot, and they both have a similar shape, so they both can fit in. So if I'm consuming a lot of glucose through breads and sugars, then it overwhelms the cells and the vitamin C can't absorb. So we have to consume a lot of vitamin C to absorb it. If we're consuming virtually no glucose and our body is relying on what it has to make through gluconeogenesis, then the vitamin C requirements for the body are very small. And that's why you will see these long-term carnivores who haven't had a vitamin C fruit or supplement in years and years
Look at
and
our
years.
teeth.
Yes. And they do not have scurvy. Which is what happens when you're vitamin C deficient. And so that is just one of those kind of oddball little things. That's why we don't struggle with that, because we are not eating too much glucose. So that was my
That's
Well,
right.
go ahead and finish with this question right here. What do you ladies use specific soap, facials? Because that the facial came up on the other one So what are you ladies doing? Y'all know what my new answer is.
We saw yours. I make my own. On my channel at Healthy Carnivore, I have several videos of stuff that I've made, from deodorants to tooth powder to tallow lotion. I've made facial serums. I don't put any soap per se at all on my face, and I have not used a soap product. Of course, I did make shampoo bars, and so I'm sure some of that shampoo, run across, but I do not. I just wash my face with plain water. I don't use any soaps on my face. And even like, I suppose I was thinking about that when I was using my shampoo bar yesterday. I was like, I should do a body soap.
How was it?
It was wonderful. My hair feels amazing. And I had somebody go,
Wow.
"Well, won't the tub be slick?" And I said, "No, because everything I read up on is when you use lye in that soap, it helps keep it from doing that. It emulsifies it, and it'll go into the hair, especially the root system and the scalp." But there was no residue left in my tub, because I checked that, because I thought he'll get in there, because today's his birthday, and I was like, he'll get in there tomorrow and break a hip. So I did check that, but it was wonderful. It lathered up really well, and I put rosemary essential oil, so it had a nice smell to it. But I usually, because it's so dry in the winter, even though I'm drinking water, my hair is usually so dry that, like, if I put a brush through it, it's like it's like Shaka Khan hair. And so I was like, well, let's see how it does. And I brushed it with just a plain Jane brush this morning before work, and I was like, wow, it's not sticking to me and freaking out. So yeah, it worked
Wow,
out really
nice.
well. So,
So
but
how
yeah, I
much of
make
the
my own.
bar you ended up using?
I literally took the bar, got it wet, rubbed it down the center of my head like that, put a little bit on my hands, put it back in the little container thing, did that, and rubbed through my hair. I mean, I think that bar will probably last me 6 months, maybe
Hmm.
longer.
Nice.
I mean, yeah, so, and it's not that expensive to make it, and I made such a small batch of it. You normally, that I think, I don't even remember how many pounds of soap it said it made, but I was like, "Ooh, I don't quite need that much around." So, I just made a
Hmm.
small batch, but yeah, it was wonderful and didn't take much.
Girl, I think I'm gonna end up having to do the soap thing.
Me
I think
too.
I know that's just
Yeah,
going to
so
be nice. Anybody? Okay, so for me,
yeah.
I think I was 40 something, and I really didn't do anything to my face. And a friend of mine uh, invited me to go sit in. Well, she told me that she needed a face model, and I was like, oh, okay, so I was just gonna sit there and let her do. But it was me doing all the work. It was Mary Kay, and I did like how it made my face feel, and the fact that I wasn't using anything on my skin. And you do need to take care of your face. That's that's the one thing you really don't cover up. You put shirts, pants, but this is this your face. So but a lot of times at night before this last thing is I use Vaseline. I'm Vaseline in that circular motion, but then I was blessed with castor oil. And that's the one where, yeah, I load up under the all kind. I did a demonstration on last week's video. You could go and take a look at that. But yes, unnecessary. Oh, this is RV there. Yeah, but I see you
Oh
guys
yeah.
are answering some of the questions. So good that they are being addressed. All right. So who is it? Me? Yep. News that we can use. All right. Is everybody finished? Did we write on how we are supposed to be? All right. So I'm going to present this. I'm going to share my screen. We're all seeing this
Excited.
for the first time ourselves.
I know, me too.
And here we go.
Carnivore Leo, bringing you carnivore news that we can use from the community. Jen at Delighted to Meet You recently posted a video on her channel entitled Carnivore Diet Myths, where she discussed the common myths and misconceptions about the carnivore diet. I'm going to briefly cover 5 of the most common myths, and we'll link the studies related to those 5 in the show notes after the live stream. Myth number 1, carnivore is not sustainable or healthy long term. There are many people in the carnivore community who have been doing carnivore for decades, and they are still thriving. Kelly Hogan and Dr. Lisa Wiedemann are 2 examples. They have both been on the carnivore diet for well over a decade, and there are many others, like Dr. Anthony Chafee and Dr. Sean Baker, who have been living this lifestyle for decades longer before it even had a name. So this automatically tells me that the carnivore lifestyle is sustainable. The reason it's sustainable, because it's a very nutrient-dense diet. When you eat only animal products, your body gets all of the vitamins and minerals it needs. Myth number 2, the carnivore diet will cause a heart attack or a stroke. This is probably the most common myth. Believe it or not, the evidence that's available has not consistently shown a correlation between high total cholesterol and especially high LDL in heart attacks or strokes. And there's definitely no data indicating a strong causation between those factors. Yes, LDL matters. However, the number of LDL particles you have is not what matters. It's whether or not those LDL particles have been damaged. When they're damaged, they become small, dense particles that can build up and create atherosclerotic plaques in your blood vessels. When they're not damaged, they're large and buoyant and fluffy particles that do a lot of good things for you. The way that LDL particles become damaged is by being exposed to glucose. So sugar and carbs are the problem, not the fat. The research does consistently show that high HDL and low triglycerides make you less likely to have a stroke or a heart attack. And both of those things are a result obtained from the carnivore diet. The carnivore diet is going to make you less likely to have a heart attack or a stroke. Myth number 3, the carnivore diet will cause gout. The truth is, inflammation, fructose, high insulin levels, and being overweight or obese are the top 4 things that lead to gout attacks. So if you don't want to get gout, avoid high levels of fructose, especially fruit juices and sweetened drinks with high fructose corn syrup. You also want to avoid anything inflammatory, such as industrial seed oils. Eating a low-carb diet like a carnivore diet is going to decrease inflammation, generally lead to weight loss, and it's going to keep your insulin levels low. This way of eating prevents gout. It does not cause gout. Myth number 4, you'll get scurvy. Some signs of scurvy are fatigue, weakness, bleeding gums, and excessive bruising. And scurvy occurs when your vitamin C levels are too low. It's true that there's not a whole lot of vitamin C in the carnivore diet. It's basically one of the only nutrients that's found mostly in plants. What's interesting, though, is that there are thousands of carnivores out there, and scurvy doesn't appear to be an issue. A reasonable explanation for why that is because vitamin C and glucose compete for transport in your body. If you're not having any carbs or glucose, then you can use up all of the vitamin C that you take in, and it does not have to compete, and you get to use it all. So vitamin C requirements in people who don't eat carbs are much lower. Myth number 5, you'll be constipated on a carnivore diet. It is commonly believed that fiber is necessary for normal, regular bowel movements. There is a study that states otherwise. The study is entitled, Stopping or Reducing Dietary Fiber Intake Reduces Constipation and Its Associated Symptoms. It turns out that fiber is not what's necessary for bowel movements. The amount of fat we eat is what we need to pay attention to. If your stools are on the hard, dry side, increase your fat intake. If they are loose, decrease fat a little bit. It's literally that simple. As stated earlier, I will link the studies that debunk these myths in the show notes. This has been Carnivore News that we can use from the community. Thank you for watching and good night.
Love it.
Awesome.
Love it. Love it.
Very
Yes.
good.
And that ended up being just what we were talking about. Oh, wait a minute. Let's go back here so I can see you guys. Yeah, that was just what we're talking about. And she just wrapped it right on up. Go ahead, Rebecca, wrap us up.
All right. So just to summarize, I think she did a great job, is that I think the big takeaway is that the information is out there. Anything you have questions about, it has been addressed by a doctor or a professional. There's lots of us that are talking about it and sharing the summaries of it. But if you're, concerned about cholesterol or gout or scurvy or constipation, I mean, just go look at people's testimonies, people that have been doing this for a long time, and it's anecdotal evidence, but it speaks for itself that there's nobody struggling with these things that is on the carnivore diet. So that is one part of it. And then if you want to understand where it's coming from, go find these doctors. They are sharing this information, they're reading the studies, they're helping you piece it down for you in an understandable way, in relatable ways. And that will give you more confidence in this if you're concerned about one thing or the other. And I think that it helps me a lot to know I may or may not quite understand one aspect or another, but I know where I can get that information. And, as I remind my husband regularly when he's, gets concerned about something or another that he heard, I was like, you feel so much better. Like you have your life back. You're not taking a dozen medications that you were 2 years ago, and you're thriving. So the benefits they speak for themselves. And so it has not caused you any problems at this point. It has only solved problems. So that alone gives us confidence that this is the right path for us. So on that note, I just want to thank everybody for being here. I want you to like and subscribe wherever you're watching the stream. We really appreciate your support and coming out and watching us on our Meeting Mondays. And we look forward to seeing you next week.
So,
And
yeah.
yeah, Rob,
Here I
yeah.
go.
All right.
And Robin.
So tonight's episode was really awesome and talking about some of the carnivore myths and misinformation that we're getting out here in these carnivore streets. And it's up to us to be able to get this word out as we've been talking about. This is why we're doing this. This is why the doctors are doing this, is because we want to make sure that the word gets out that basically everything that we have been taught is upside down and backwards, and we need to dispel that myth. So we have some good things coming up. I know that G and Frederick just interviewed Dr. T, but what do you got going on your channel this week, G?
I am super excited. We did Dr. Chafee this morning. That live is on the channel, Hanging with the Browns. The one that's really stepping out for me is the fact is two things. One, that the whole panel, we're doing the lion diet. So, and I know next Monday, I'm going to get my measurements done live and show you how you can do yours by yourself as well. But on the 1st, which is Thursday, when Robin and I were taking our class and I was coming together, putting together a packet to help people with their first 30 days. Well, I had a group of people that I was helping go through the first 30 days. And one of the young ladies, we are talking, I'm interviewing her February 1st at noon. And I'm super excited about this one because number one, she would just see my stuff on social media because I did a couple of hashtags. Hashtag my road to 60, and then hashtag never be big again. Because that's the one thing that I can say. I will never be huge again. You could, yeah, not happening, not happening. And because she saw that, she ended up reaching out to me, her and a couple of other people, and we went through the first 30 days together. And so we're going to do that interview because I asked her, because I told her my service was free for her. Don't even worry about it because I need this as well. I said, but you have to document. You have, in other words, if you got a trigger for something, I wanted you to write it down. I wanted you to kind of keep notes of it. So this moment stays fresh in your mind. So I'm super excited about interviewing with her because she's just regular for Ohio. So that's and then I'll tell y'all about the other stuff, but that'll be next week because that is what's going on. It was Dr. Chafee and then Misty J on for this.
Nice.
Yeah, so I'm super excited. That one
Awesome. How about you, Rebecca? What's going on your channel this week?
Well, I have been rolling out what we call our phases of transitioning for the kids to carnivore. So my husband and I, we went cold turkey. We decided to do carnivore. The next day, we were all in. But with the kids, we went on a more subtle path, just because it felt a little it was just easier and it was less difficult for them. And so when I looked back, I realized we kind of knocked it into about 4 phases. The first 3 each were about 3 months long, where we, took out a bunch of these foods and added this in. And then, 2 or 3 months in, we took out other foods and added others in, and so on. So I call it like our phase 1 and phase 2. I have had videos out for those already, where phase 1 is you take out all the big ugly carbs, your breads, your sweets, pastas, all of those kinds of things, and you're just focusing on meat, and whatever it takes to get them to eat meat is fine. So we let them have sauces and cheeses and all those kinds of things, because we're just making meat the star, and that's our only goal right now. And especially if you've been eating just totally on the sad diet. And then in the second one, we start to look closer at the carbohydrates and the breads and things like not breads, the more detailed, refining it down. That's when we took out fruits and vegetables. That's when we started weaning off of the sauces. And then in the third phase is when we really focused in more on the fine tuning and getting rid of processed foods. We saw getting to where all of the deli meats and the sausages and things like that were only occasional items instead of a daily items, so that we were mostly eating whole meats. And then the fourth was kind of was what we're in now. That's our maintenance phase, where we're just refining the system, getting used to what they like, teaching them how to cook those things. And so that's what I'm working on, is a video really breaking. I have one where I break down just kind of a summary of it all. And then for each phase, I'm going into great detail just to give people an idea of where do you get started? How do you get a 4-year-old to eat meat? And then how do you get a 16-year-old to just eat meat? I have one of each. So, that's what I'm doing right now.
Can I add to that real quick? Is it possible to put together for each phase in a right? You're dealing with older people here, yeah. To document it down, and because I have some people, and you're the one. Everybody has kids, but y'all don't have 8 carnivores, so she wins. And so, and she have like this, so whatever craving that we're looking for. And if you could in the process, and if you needed some help, because maybe I can get the gist of it for you, and then you can go from there. But I would love to see something like that, and I would help you put it together to where, like for me, I'll send you a PDF. I'm actually having it revamped right now with a company, but it's 4 weeks of menus, and then there are blank menus for you to do. And so I give you a list of ruminant meats. So you have the menu, and then you have what are your fattiest meats, and so on and so forth. So I break it down like that. I would love to help you to do that. And then, it's something tangible or something they can download or something they can print off
Mhm.
to give them that they now they go to the store and it's like, no, we're in phase 2. That was phase 1. We're not getting them groceries.
Mhm.
Almost like even a grocery
Yeah.
list for them. These are
Yeah.
the things, Oh God, yes. All right, next person. I'm sorry.
All
I was
right.
getting
That's
excited when
exactly
you were talking.
that is definitely on my to-do list, and I want to put the other because I
Yes,
have
nice.
a grocery guide that I give out now, but my husband was like, you should make one that's for each phase so that people
That's
can
Yep.
awesome.
kind of see where
If
they're
you
at.
need
I
help
agree.
And
with
then
it,
Yep, and
I'll
then
help
people
you.
can take the time that it works for them because if you're starting in one place, you might phase 1 might be, only a month long if it's just you and a 10-year-old that's
Right.
easy to work with. And phase 1 might
Right.
be 4 or 5 months for your family just depending on where you're at. So that's definitely I appreciate the offer there, G, and I'd like to do something like that.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, you
I think
did the
that
hard
makes
part. You
sense.
got the grocery list. So now it's almost done. Shoot. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay, so um a couple things that I've been thinking about. One is that GLP-1 medications. I did quite a bit of research on that today. I spent my hour lunch really going over that. Um, so I potentially am going to do that this week. Another one is I had somebody reach out and kind of wanted me to go through like a prepper list of things that I have done, not to the extent of like when I'm on Rebecca's or not Rebecca's, but Robin's live, we're going to do some stuff that is prepping, involved. So I'm not going to do anything deep, but I do have like a guide where I've written out like where my craziness is as to who knows what's coming. These are the things. I had somebody who was like, yes, where do we start? Because some people live in the country. I live in a small town, but these things are things that anybody could purchase, get stocked away, just for a little bit. Because I mean, we've been very fortunate in this country that none of us right now, and like I'd say 98% of the people alive have never went through true food shortages, water
Mm.
shortages, medications where you can't get to pharmacies. And so I don't say you have to plan for the next 10 years, although I probably do, but you can plan for 3 months, you know, just
Mhm.
just in case. So that's kind of what I thought about going out and kind of doing that. So that'll be my week and trying not to go crazy on the medical system that's broken. Yes.
Thanks, Laura. So for me, I will be doing some more cooking videos. I'm trying to bring back my what I eat in the days. I kind of fell off on that because I just got after the fast. It was like, first of all, during the fast, I wasn't eating anything. So
Yeah.
after the fast, I kind of fell off. So getting back to doing some of that. On Saturday, I have 2 live streams. One is going to be a cook and eat with Christy at Meeting Wellness. And then I have a live interview with Carrie at my metamorphosis. So I'm excited about those 2 awesome live streams that are coming up on this Saturday. I want to let you guys know that we are going to be, next week is February, the first Monday in February. So we will have a giveaway. Yay!
Yay.
That's it.
Giveaway on the first Monday of February. And then we will also be talking about Carnivore Success Stories Showcase. So I see G's showing you the giveaway products. So come back and be with us next Monday night at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern for Meaty Mondays with the Fierce Sea Lion.